Here's the thing that most people won't really tell you or admit to you when you're starting a business. There is a lot that you are not going to know when you first get started. I mean, a lot. Like most things, you are going to have to figure out the hard way. But guess what? You're not supposed to know it all. I mean, if you're anything like me, it is easy to get stuck in this paralysis by analysis. But then we never really get going, do we? Like by nature, we want to know all the answers before we make our first move. Like what's the perfect niche, offer, pitch, price? It's as if we're waiting for this like official sign from the universe that says, yes, this is going to work for you. Please proceed, which would be lovely. And I would like one of those if possible, maybe laminated, but that's not how business works. You don't always get certainty first. You're going to start with things being awkward conversations and objections, clumsy pitches and offers, unclear pricing, like weird moments where you explain what you do and you immediately think, wow, did that actually just come out of my mouth? Can I put it back in? It's humbling, right? It's deeply educational. And that's the point. You're not supposed to know it all before you start. You're supposed to build a business that can teach you and have the patience and grace for yourself to learn as you go. I started a business with zero prior experience in my field, no formal education. But you know what? Whether you want to call it school of the hard knocks or hustle culture, you learn as you go. And the one constant is, are you willing to put in the effort and to make it work? So if you've been waiting for more clarity or more confidence or proof or polish to make that first move, or even if you've already started, but you feel yourself hesitating and pulling back on thinking bigger, on growing, on expanding your true potential because you're not sure what lies on just the other side. It seems daunting and scary and unclear. I'm going to give you a little bit of a shove, the shove that I wish someone gave me when I first started my business, because you've got to leave the confines of your head and meet the real world, meet that harsh reality. Sometimes a kick in the ass is the best medicine, but I promise you it is going to help you feel more confident, more secure, more ready for whatever is thrown your way next. Building a world-class brand has always been a little too complicated, too costly, and way too time-consuming. Not anymore. And I know this because I've spent over a decade guiding over 100 businesses in this process, over countless months and thousands of dollars, only to sit dormant on their desks. And I believe that people should have access to real, actionable brand strategy because without it, too many great businesses are staying invisible, they're blending in with the competition, and they never reach the people they were meant to serve. I'm talking to the first-time founders, the coaches, the consultants out there, any business owner building something real, but is a little tired of guessing their way through the brand part. That's why I built mybrandcoach.ai. It guides you step by step through building your foundational brand identity with an always-on brand coach and a personalized content studio to help you build your business with more confidence and clarity. So now I invite you to give it a try and start completely free at mybrandcoach.ai.
For too long, entrepreneurs and business owners have been told they have to choose between profit and purpose. If you're tired of burning out, done chasing someone else's version of success, and ready to grow with more purpose, prosperity, and peace of mind, you're in the right place. Because every business has the potential to do good and do well. I'm Chase Friedman, and this is In Pursuit of Purpose, where strategy meets soul.
Welcome back to In Pursuit of Purpose. I'm Chase Friedman, and today is the final coaching episode of season 2, which feels wild because this entire season has been about building clarity. Season 1 was trying to find that confidence, that mindset to reset, to reimagine what is possible for crafting a life and a business that's aligned with who we are and who we want to be. This season has been about building clarity for how to take those first steps, right? Or continue to build and grow on what you've already started. Greater clarity can be liberating. Clarity around who you serve, what matters, what stays, what needs to go, what you need to stop making dramatically more complicated than it needs to be. So just a casual podcast season packed full of questioning our entire relationship with work, with identity, with ambition, with purpose. What light reading and listening for you all. Thank you for staying tuned this far. But if you have, that means you've got the commitment and conviction to do better for yourself, to do more for your clients and the business that you're aspiring to build and to grow. You've got to be willing to do the internal work first, right? And certainly consistently along the way. But as we close this season, I want to make an important distinction. Clarity is not meant to be the final destination. It's supposed to get you, to get us in motion. This is where a lot of first time founders get stuck. Not because they're lazy or unserious or lacking ambition. I know plenty of people that have told me, looked me in the eye and said, oh gosh, I wish I'm ready to start that new business. I think this is the moment. I think this is the time. I hate my job. I got to get out. And they never make that first step. Sometimes it's overanalysis. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's just ambiguity of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. So clarity can be empowering if you can dig a little bit deeper and find those answers and have the conviction, stay tuned next season, on what exactly you need to do to take those next steps. A lot of my friends, a lot of peers, family members, they care so much about building the right thing the right way that they convince themselves they need to know everything before they move on, and they never get there. They're comparing their prospective new business or endeavor in context with a lot of times their current company or brand that has given them the stability they've been seeking in a formal sort of job that's been around for years, that has experience and pedigree and employees and operations. You're never going to come straight out of the gate with all those things. So stop comparing, and we talked about this before, against your competitors, against your previous peers and employers. Think about the minimum viable product that you need to get started, but make damn sure that you have clarity of why you're showing up in this marketplace, how you're going to uniquely stand apart from the competition, and what it is that you can do to deliver true and lasting value for your customers. You don't need to have the fully buttoned up brand or the fully functional funnel. You don't just wake up one day and become an entrepreneur. It's not a light switch moment. This is a constant journey, a constant endeavor full of failure and learning that only makes you stronger, that only sharpens the sword. I've spent plenty of time myself in this precarious position of let me just think about this a little bit longer. Let me wait for launch. As a matter of fact, I've been prepping something new for this last year, and I'm excited to kind of share it with you all soon. But I've probably delayed a little bit more than I could or should have in terms of launching it, just releasing it into the world in its imperfect state. But it's getting there. It's getting close. And I am holding my own feet to the fire and accountability to just rip the Band-Aid. I've picked a date, and if not everything's ready, then so be it. Might be a little bit messy or a little less refined than I would like, but I'd rather it be out there in the world and starting to test and teach me how I need to continue to improve and refine and optimize it rather than staying stuck in this echo chamber in my mind where nothing's going to improve because I'm the only one analyzing it. So today we're going to talk about building a business without having all the answers, not because answers don't matter. They do. Not because strategy doesn't matter. You've always got to come to the table. And we've talked about this with a clear strategy, but you might not know exactly how to execute on that. You might not know how to react and respond when you get some curveballs. Trust me, nobody needs more spaghetti thrown at a wall business strategy and tactics. There are more tools and services and providers and gurus coming onto the market every single day. Kudos to them for the bravado and sometimes ego and cavalier nature of just launching without even really understanding what they're offering and how they're truly providing value. I suppose I give them a little bit of credit for having the courage and confidence to just rip the Band-Aid and go. Now, that bravado will maybe get you in the door, but it's not going to keep you there. People are going to smell BS once they scratch the surface and realize there's not a whole lot of depth behind this empty promise, this smoke and mirrors, this get rich quick scheme, this idea that came to them in the middle of the night and they spun up a website and launched the very next day. Nothing against that, but if you don't have a clear strategy and a clear plan of execution moving forward, that's not going to get you too far. But if you are stuck at the starting line and you haven't launched and you haven't revealed that next product or service or great big idea, but if you're waiting until you feel completely ready or certain or qualified before you begin, you're going to be waiting a very long time and you may never get started. Don't deprive your audience or your potential customers from the potential delight and benefit and transformation you can offer them. Stop being so selfish. You don't get certainty first in business. You get contact, like real physical contact, like some blows to the chin with real people, with real problems and conversations, with confusion, with sleepless nights, like aha moments where you're thinking to yourself, oh, wow, that's not how I thought that would go. But you'll get evidence, you'll get feedback, you'll get sometimes a rude awakening in the process, and you can make better decisions from there. Then that's where you refine. That's where the confidence starts to build, the momentum starts to show up. I promise you, if you are willing to trust the process and stay the course through this messy middle or this messy beginning, you're going to find the confidence and conviction to get you to the next level. I think one of the best things about entrepreneurship is that it is constantly humbling. It is constantly a journey of learning and getting knocked down and picking yourself back up again, and resilience and building confidence and courage. It is messy. It is uncertain. It is unclear. It is a rocky road. It is not for everybody. But if you choose that path, you got to be willing to kind of face some of those challenges that lie ahead. So again, this show was built on an intentional arc that I sought to kind of investigate and reveal from the beginning. Season 1 being about building confidence, about believing that you are more ready than you think. Season 2, here now, has been about clarity, about getting focused, clear, sharpened on who you are and what you're building, who you serve, and why that actually matters. Where we're going with this, season 3, is about conviction. And no, not this fake it till you make it theater, not manifest and meditate on it and it'll appear. That's not real life. The kind of conviction that is built through making real decisions with real tools and real frameworks and tangible offers and sales and messaging and delivery and feedback, all the things that you're going to need in your backpack to test and trial and test again and optimize and refine and repeat. But this is the bridge to that moment where rubber hits the pavement. But I want you to enter that next chapter, not just with ideas, but with evidence from conversations you're having, from offers that you've tested, from objections that you've received to those offers, from acknowledging and understanding and deciphering what people are understanding, what's confusing, what they ignore, what they resist, what they're willing to pay for. Like really allow yourself to get in the lab and get messy with it. Because conviction to move forward, to build, to grow, to scale gets a lot easier when you stop trying to predict everything from up here and you start gathering tangible proof and rationale and reasoning from the real world, right? Like that's the shift. You're not supposed to know it all before you start. You're supposed to build a business that teaches you lessons along the way. So let's talk about how to do that. One of the first myths we have to completely dismantle is needing to know everything or most things before I start. You need to know some things. You need to show up with experience and credibility and confidence, subject matter expertise in what it is that you do. But you don't have to know how it's all going to play out. How could you? You do need to know who you want to help. You need to know what problem you're trying to solve. You need to know why this matters enough to you. So you have the passion and purpose and conviction to stay with it when shit hits the fan, when it gets uncomfortable. But you don't need the whole map. There's going to be some missing pieces. There's going to be some holes in the map. You're like, wait a minute, there's supposed to be a mile marker here. I need to know this mile marker where I'm going. Not always going to be the reality. This is where first-time founders get tangled up. And not even first-time founders, long-time entrepreneurs. I am constantly seeking sort of a signal, a sign, a roadmap for where that next level of my business is meant to be. But when I don't find it externally, when I haven't found it in some lesson or framework, I've learned to look inwards. I've learned to use my own compass, my own purpose of the business that I want to build and measure against that. So when I can't see through the darkness, when I sometimes can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, how this is all going to play out, I at least can lean on my guiding purpose, my North Star, my compass, whatever cliche you want to use to at least say, hey, look, I know at least I'm heading in the right direction and I'm trusting the process and my process and how I want to get there and the purpose in my mission and where I'm going. But I certainly can't always determine or predict how it's going to turn out. Now, before you're ready to launch a new business, a new website, a new offer, a new campaign or funnel, you're going through a period of preparation, right? But there's a point where preparation can be deceiving because it looks productive. You're doing the work, you're researching, you're learning, you're listening to this podcast, you're comparing it to other people's websites, which we've talked about, and not letting that be a trap. Updating the Notion board, you're writing sticky notes, like you're making these little lists, and that can feel like progress. And sometimes it is. But at some point, too much preparation just becomes procrastination. And this is what I want you to pay attention to. Are you still preparing because the next step requires more preparation, more learning? If so, that's great. Make sure you feel good and solid in where you're going before you leap. The last thing I want you to do is be irresponsible by launching a new business or launching your own service where you're not confident it can deliver on the promise. Or are you still preparing because the next step requires actual risk and exposure and uncertainty? Not the same thing. Sometimes you do need to clarify and revise and polish your offer before you pitch it. Sometimes you need to understand your audience, yeah, a little bit deeper, a little bit more before you are creating content for them versus just creating content that you think sounds good. Those are all fine. Responsible. We love responsible. But sometimes if you catch yourself rewriting something or revising something over and over and over because sending it to someone feels super scary and you're not sure how they're going to respond, or you're tweaking a website because, a real sales conversation would be uncomfortable. You're hiding behind this other thing. Maybe you're constantly refining and rethinking your niche because choosing one direction is scary. What about all the other opportunities I might miss out on, or the other audiences or ICPs that I might not be able to capture? But we've talked about this too. Keeping every door open is not only inefficient, it's exhausting and it can lead to burnout. You've got to close some doors that aren't meant for you and kick down the ones that are and boldly step through. Sometimes we get stuck waiting for confidence to just happen upon us before we do the things that are going to actually help us build confidence. We're waiting for a feeling that only taking real tangible action can create. You want that confidence before the conversation. Doesn't work that way. Have the hard conversation. Don't be afraid to fail. Look foolish. Look like an idiot sometimes. But on the other side of that, you've built a little bit more confidence knowing what you do and don't want to say the next time around. You want to have this certainty and clarity before you pull together this final offer. But you're not the best judge of that. Your audience is, your customer is. And so clarity comes from testing the offer, putting it out there. You might not want to shout it from the rooftop yet, but test it in a small, controlled manner and see the reaction. All right? Test your hypothesis. You might be right, you might be wrong, but you won't know until you put it out there. You want more conviction around your decisions before making a decision. But conviction comes from making those decisions and executing upon them and sticking with them long enough to learn something. Here's something I see with a lot of clients and a lot of businesses. They want to test a new direction, a new product, a new service, some new copy, a new positioning on their website, whatever it is. They want to test a variable, but they're not willing to stay uncomfortable for long enough to get a true read, true results from it, true feedback. The moment they get some negative response, knee-jerk pivot. Oh, we got to go back to what we were doing before. People don't like it. Or unless it's overwhelmingly, glowingly positive reviews, they don't trust that enough to stay the course and trust the process. When you're doing something such as launching a new product or changing your brand message and positioning, something foundational, something big, you better be willing to give it months to truly test it in the marketplace. Now, know enough that if it's not working, it's time to reset, take a step back, reset, try again. I'm not saying embrace this loss fallacy where you're not willing to give up an idea or cut bait on something that just simply didn't work out in the marketplace or as you intended, but give it enough time to thrive, to flourish. It's not going to be a binary response. It's not going to be all positive or all negative, but you've got to give it enough time and enough effort and commitment and conviction. At the end of the day, say, hey, we gave it our best. We gave it sufficient time to test in the marketplace. And either it didn't work out or it did. And we're going to lean further into it. A lot of you listening to this show are thoughtful, capable, experienced people. You've done some great things. You have been trusted by your peers, by clients. You've been that person with answers. And you've probably spent years in roles or industries where your value was connected to knowing what you were doing. And that felt good. That felt safe and that felt comfortable. So all of a sudden you step into building something of your own and suddenly you don't know exactly what comes next. You don't have that safety net of a full company or organization behind you or beneath you. This can feel like a threat to your identity. All of a sudden you go from being the man or the woman to shit, I'm on my own. I have no idea how this is going to pan out. You still know exactly what you did before, but yeah, it can be a little bit more isolating. This is where it requires a different kind of strength, like the ability and self-belief to move forward before you have total certainty. It requires the ability and willingness to be vulnerable, put yourself out there, try something new, fall on your face, maybe. But I promise you, people are not going to be as harsh a critic as you are of yourself. But you got to be willing to bounce back from those stumbles and falls, right? Because it's easy for us to go to that place. It didn't work. It failed. I can't cut it. I don't have what it takes. This imposter syndrome creeps up. All of a sudden a post that you thought was going to be brilliant doesn't get any engagement. Suddenly it's proof that, no one wants to hear what I have to say. Bullshit. Try again. Do you know how many attempts it takes to really sort of penetrate all this competitive noise we're up against in the marketplace, you know you got to be willing to fail at least 9 times out of 10. At least try 99 out of 100. But if you get that one win, you get that one spark, that one little spark can be enough to give you the energy and the momentum to say, this is what's resonating. This is what's working. Let me lean in fully on this. But we know that not every sales conversation is going to convert. We know not every prospective lead is going to buy. This is why we see these super, super low conversion rates on whether it's running an ad campaign or a funnel or lead acquisition. A lot of times it's a volume game, but not necessarily just kind of a scattershot approach, but it's a learn, rinse, and repeat. The first version of your business is not going to be a verdict for how it's going to go in the future. It's a prototype. It's a constant work in progress. Do not make this an indicator of your self-esteem. Like, your early attempts are allowed to humble you and teach you things. None of these potential misses or whiffs or mistakes or gaffes are wasted if you're paying attention and you're not just focused on it failed, it missed, it didn't work. Look deeper. Ask why. Why didn't it work? Why didn't it land? What could have gone differently? What can I improve for next time? Like, if you're willing to look past that initial sting, that initial like body blow, that's a check to your ego, and you kind of look a little bit deeper and analyze why it didn't work, you're doing more work than most that, quite frankly, probably will just hang it up after a few more no's. The problem is never going to be that you don't know enough or know everything, but it could be if you're not willing to lean in and learn from some of these mistakes. So instead of asking and toiling over, how do I know this will work? Maybe ask yourself, what evidence would help me make a better decision? What could I improve on next time? So I want to take you through this founder field test. You can stop trying to solve things in an echo chamber of your mind, right? And start testing in the real world. And the point of all this is trying to create enough contact and context with the real world to learn what is true, to learn what is validating. So the first thing you need to do is name what you know. Literally list it out. Write down all the things that you know to be true, that you feel good about, you feel confident about, you've got experience, you've got pedigree, you've got proof. Name all the things that you know that you have maybe done for your clients in the past that have provided impact and delight and transformation. We all know these things, right? Like, we become prisoners of our own knowledge. We take our knowledge and our expertise for granted when we just expect that everyone knows these things. They don't. That's not their lane. That's not their life experience. That's not their pedigree. That's not their education. That's not their industry. Don't take that for granted. Name and list and own what it is you know. What are your superpowers? Then start naming like what you are assuming. What are your thoughts that you're not quite sure about, your hypothesis around who you might target, how you might reach them, what they are wanting in a product or service or some form of transformation or solution to their challenges. Then choose a market test, like a very controlled experiment, specific niche, a specific use case or product or offer. And then next, define the evidence that you need to either validate or disprove that hypothesis, that test. So say you're going to launch a new offer and you want to collect evidence that either validates it, saying either, hey, I can convert this amount of people at this price. And that could be anything. That could be feedback and testimonials. That can be proof. That can be some exposed flaws or blind spots. Let's say you're bringing a new offer to market, right? A new coaching program, a new consulting service, a new workshop, a new app. What are going to be the indicators and measures of success or failure, right? And then really hone in, deploying this test, listening, learning, adjusting, but keep it simple. Keep the stakes clear. Like a giant mega plan with many, many moving parts, it's hard to measure what's working and what's not. And it can be overwhelming. And that's the kind of thing that, like, the sheer weight of that plan can be heavy enough that you'll never fully deploy the entire thing. And you'll kind of write it off and say, oh, it's going to be too big of a lift. It's never going to work. Too complicated. You made it so. You made your own bed. Guilty. Been there, done that. Right? You've almost crafted a strategy and a plan and a launch that subliminally you knew was going to be too hard to execute. And it kind of gave you this backdoor excuse of never getting it off the ground. Sound familiar? So again, I want you to think about this field test. Step one, naming what you know. Because when you are overwhelmed and you feel like you are unsure about everything, your brain is going to want to obsess over what's missing or what you don't know. Like, go back to what you know, Go back to what you have some certainty and confidence over. You're not going to know the perfect framing or copy or offer or price. You don't know if this is going to work, if people are going to buy it. You don't exactly know yet where the clients are going to come from. But I promise you, you probably know more than you're giving yourself credit for. So start there. Who do you want to help? What kind of person are you called to serve? What do you understand deeply? What people have already come to you for help and assistance and guidance? What do you see clearly that other people struggle to name or to identify or to figure out? Like, what's the transformation that you believe you can provide to someone else as a result of your skills and your experience and your perspective? Even think about the kind of work you do want to do, and almost more importantly, the kind of work you don't want to do. Like, I want no part of that. And we've talked about this in a previous episode about essentialism and 10x and having to sacrifice things that are not perfectly aligned. Clarity can really flourish with a sense of, no, absolutely not that. That is not what I want to do. And that is not how I want to work. And that's not who I want to serve. It can be extremely beautiful and liberating. Do not become a prisoner of your own knowledge. Don't dismiss it because it feels obvious to you. The things that feel most obvious to you is the exact thing that someone else needs help with. The thing that feels so obvious and clear to you are usually the things that people are lacking or missing and willing to pay you for. Now, step 2, name what you're assuming. This is kind of that gap, the scary place from the known and the unknown of what needs to be tested. You might know you want to help first-time founders, but you might be unsure of what specific problems they're dealing with and willing to pay to solve. You may know that you are super strong with strategy, but you may not know what's the best format or deployment to share that strategy, like a one-on-one, a group program, a workshop, retainer. You might know the feeling of what your audience is struggling with, but you might not know the exact words to describe it or resonate in a way that how they would frame it. You might have a lot of confidence and even some proof in having delivered success and transformation for people in the past, but you may not be sure yet exactly how they're going to arrive at your doorstep and find you. So you can even have that first conversation. Now, step 3, choose a single focused market test. I'm not talking about a full launch, a full rebrand, a full funnel. I'm talking about simple, clear action that puts your idea in contact with real people. It can be conversations and practice pitches that you have with people of your target audience. It can be intentional questions like discovery calls. What are you struggling with? What have you tried? What hasn't worked? What would you like to see more of? What frustrates you? Listen to the language, listen to the urgency, the patterns. Your market test could be sending a clear, and I mean clear, direct, unabashed offer to a previous client or colleague, right? Or a warm lead. Not, hey, I'm around if you need anything. Like, that's not an offer. That's like ambiguity. That's not coming off with any sort of conviction or confidence. A clear offer might sound like, I'm testing this new brand building app for first time founders who need to clarify their positioning, their identity, and have the continued accountability of a coach and content to back it up. And then being direct. I thought of you because, hey, where you're at in your business, I thought this might be of service to you, might be helpful for you. Would it be useful for us to talk about it? Maybe I can show you a demo and you can let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. See if it might be a fit, might be of value to you. Simple, human, direct, no smoke machine and lights and shiny objects. Come clear with, here's the problem I help with. Here's why it matters. Here's what people misunderstand about it, and that's okay. And here's the shift I'm trying to create. This market test could even be like a simple one-page offer, maybe a landing page. Who it's for, what it solves, what's included, what the intended outcome is, and how you can take the next step, right? Like, that's enough to start a conversation. Do a small paid pilot. Reach out to 10 people that you know on LinkedIn that could be a good fit. And then stop and be willing to listen, truly listen and observe the feedback you're getting. Could be silence. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. You just need to reach more people or different people. But ask those deeper questions of why it's working or not. And then this next step, step 4, define the evidence you need to validate or disprove this test, this hypothesis. A lot of times we'll put something out there and we'll judge it emotionally. We'll have all this pent up sort of idea of how we think it's going to go, and it kind of colors and flavors our opinion of people's response, of the success or failure. Like, I like to tell my kids, this is a rule we have in our house. You've got to try everything twice when it comes to like new foods, right? Because the first time they try it, I know exactly what's going to happen. They look at it and they've got this preconceived notion. Oh, I'm not going to like it. It's smelly. It's yucky. I'm like, great. That's your first try. Now you try it again. That first try, that first attempt at testing something might be tainted with your own subjective opinion and even some other people that you share it with. But the first response isn't always the last and final response and verdict. Have them try it again, maybe under different circumstances, different contexts, or getting past that first initial bias. Try it a second time, even try it a third. And if you start to kind of get the same pattern of responses, then the results are starting to tell you something. People responded to this. They didn't respond to this. This post got likes. This didn't. Someone said it was interesting. Someone ghosted. You may not get this standing ovation, roaring applause, immediate validation you're looking for out of the gate. If you do, so happy for you. Amazing. Love it. But if things are just lukewarm, don't get discouraged. Consider like what you're trying to learn here. What's missing? What have you missed? What have you not thought of? Is it the price, the problem, the positioning? Is what you're trying to articulate as a solution or a service just simply confusing for people? This new project that I'm about to launch, I've stumbled in pitching it to certain people where I get a blank stare that aren't quite sure what I'm trying to describe to them. But I stop and I kind of reflect on how I've positioned it and I try to tweak it a little bit each time. And you know what? A lot of the people that were staring at me blankly, that were clueless when I pitched it, I said, let me just show you. Give it a try. I sent them a link to have them try it. They dove in and they were blown away. Oh my God, this is amazing. Why didn't you just tell me that it was this, that it did these things, that it could do this for me? Sorry, I let it speak for itself. But it wasn't until I actually let people touch it, feel it, test drive it, that they started to see the potential. But clearly, my initial pitch and positioning wasn't resonating. And I need to tweak that. I need to adjust that. And I'm going to take the feedback they did give after using this app, this product, and say, this is what people love about it. This is how they're describing it back to me. I need to use that same language when I'm pitching and presenting to other people. A lot of times people might be your biggest fans and they cheer you on and they say, oh, this is so great. This is so needed. And then they don't even buy. They don't convert. It doesn't mean the idea is worthless, right? And that can be infuriating because you have people blowing smoke saying, oh, it's amazing and I can't wait to try it and I'm going to sign up and I'm going to buy it and let's work together. And then they just ghost. And that's a deflating feeling. But you know what? There can be a million other things go on in their lives. They could be lost in some stranded island, which I firmly believe is the only reason someone would ghost me. There must be some mistake. You must be lost. You must have broken your phone and your laptop and every other form of communication. Otherwise, what gives? It helps me sleep at night. The point of a test is not to prove you're brilliant. It's to learn what needs tinkering or adjusting, what needs to be true for this business to work. Now, the final step, act, learn, and adjust, right? You've tested it, you've measured it, you've listened, you've refined. Now go at it again. What objections came up? What words did people use? What sucked? What felt good? What felt like pushing a boulder up a hill to get people to understand? And what felt effortless? Don't burn the whole thing down when it doesn't go exactly according to plan. Again, there are so many elements and variables that you are not going to know, not even close. But be willing to take those blows and those harsh lessons and adjust. Not change the whole business, not throw it out, not pivot entirely. Refine, tweak, adjust. Sometimes there's micro changes, right? Not all at once, sometimes incrementally. So you can truly test and measure, test and measure. So my challenge to you is have context so you can build context of what you're trying to build or refine or reimagine or grow or scale, right? Don't be seeking that perfection. Your job is to not perfect your next launch or creation or product or idea. It's to have contact with the outside world, outside of your head. That's it. Have contact, real meaningful contact with your audience, with your offer, with your message. Observe and analyze and learn. Be willing to be vulnerable and learn and be wrong about what people really need or understand or resist or what they want to pay for. And be willing to ask, what have you already tried? What's frustrating for you? What would make you pay attention? What would you pay for this or not? So if you are standing at the edge right now, whatever that edge is for you, that hesitation, that paralysis by analysis, that imposter syndrome, any sort of hesitation you might have that's holding you back from putting yourself out there, waiting for that sign to appear. Just remember, you are not supposed to, and you are never really going to know it all. You're supposed to begin with what you know, test what you don't, listen to what feedback is coming back, refine, move again. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That's the path. It's not glamorous, and it's certainly not this constant gradual uphill climb. And it's not always one clear step forward after another. Sometimes it's a step forward, 2 steps back. It's not always comfortable, not always clean or as you'd like it, but it's the next honest step you got to take. Not the perfect step or the forever one, nor even the impressive one, the one that you already know. I know you know this, that you need to take. Send the email, make the offer, have the conversation, name the thing, hit publish, hit post. Remember where you're coming from. Remember what you know. Remember your value. Remember what you bring to the market. Whatever that next step is for you, go get it. Thanks for listening to In Pursuit of Purpose. If this episode helped you, please follow the show, leave a quick review, and maybe even share it with someone who's been building something meaningful of their own. And remember, you are more than ready for this next step. Head over to my website at chaseryanfriedman.com, and you can start building your own purpose positioning strategy, explore free resources, and even find more inspiration for the road ahead. I'm Chase Friedman. Onwards.